having me. I'm very excited to be here. I'm thrilled to have been chosen to be here. And I've been asked to share with you my strategies for building a career in the screen industry. I think I've been invited to take part in the Athena project for 3 reasons. The first one is, as mentioned, my work as a creative industries business advisor, which is the world's longest job title, means that I help people build their careers in all aspects of creative industry, and of course that includes screen. But I also help people deal with success, which is sometimes more scary than we think. The second reason that I've been asked to be here is because I am a filmmaker. My own creative practice is as a writer and a filmmaker, and I have worked consistently since the 1980s when I made my first short film, and I'm now putting the finishing touches on a documentary called Handbag, which is about the relationship between gay men and straight women, and has an exclusively female crew. The third reason that I've been asked to be here is because of this. So for my master's degree in screen business at AFTRS in 2014, I chose to examine the issue of gender inequity, particularly in the areas of writing and directing. I then took my thesis and wrote a mini version for the Women in Film issue of Lumina magazine, which has been cited several times tonight already, the Women in Film issue, which was pioneered and championed by Sandra Levy at AFTRS and led to, as you've heard tonight, the renewed interest in gender on and off screen in Australia. I originally examined this issue in 2005 when I wrote an article for Metro magazine called Jobs for the Girls, with a question mark, which looked at the quiet death of affirmative action programs in the film industry, a death that I witnessed close up when I graduated from university in the early 1990s. Those were, in many ways, the halcyon days for my generation of filmmakers. By the time I graduated university, 15 years of various women in screen programs and funding support had led to a great number of female filmmakers out there in the world making wonderful films. And I was personally inspired by 2 of them. Gillian Armstrong, who is joining us here today, she not only paved the way for women filmmakers like me by just being visible as a woman doing her job, but she also helped to create 2 characters in Sibylla and Jackie Mullins that actually shaped the woman that I am today. I think I'm actually a hybrid of these 2 women. More clothed, but still. The other woman that inspired me was a woman called Joan Long. Joan co-produced Puberty Blues, which was the first time that I ever saw my own life experience on film, growing up in Newcastle. And I was lucky enough to be mentored by Joan when I moved to Sydney to pursue my film career in the late 1980s. And why my fascination with women filmmakers? Well, because I am one. And because, like most of us, I've experienced my fair share of overt, subtle and covert sexism all through my career. At high school, when I told my careers advisor that I wanted to be a filmmaker, I was told that it was impossible. The best that I could hope for was work in an advertising agency, which was arranged for me, and I was the receptionist. At university, I took over as the president of Student TV and was immediately accused by my main rival of sleeping with the outgoing president. The sad thing is that I actually really wanted to, but I didn't, because I was worried about that accusation. That was my first experience of damned if you do, damned if you don't. At my first professional job interview while I was still at university to work as a camera assistant on a live TV show, I was asked if I could lift heavy things, clearly, and would I be safe going home late at night by myself. I was later told by the producer explicitly that the only reason I got the job was because no man applied. Later in my career, I wanted to retrain as a Steadicam operator, and I was told that the harness was not designed for girls, as you can see, and that I would have to carry 20 kilograms on the front of my body and walk like a duck. Having recently had twins, I assured the man in charge this would not be a problem and that you actually can't take that off after a period of time, but he still was not very pleased. I ran a commercial and corporate production company for 20 years called Two Shot Media, and for almost all of that time, I never told my clients that I was a mother. Never. And when I first started exploring the idea of writing about all of this, about the inequality for women, particularly in areas of creative leadership, certain pillars of the screen industry, both male and female, told me that this was a 70s issue and that the problem of gender equity had been solved. I'm glad that they were, glad and upset that they were wrong. And the final reason, of course, is that because I have to tell people that I have a master's degree. We've been talking about covert sexism and unconscious bias. I usually insist on calling it my mistress degree. And yes, I also have a spinster's degree, for the record. I believe that my experiences are not unique to me or to any woman in a male-dominated field. But the thing is, this is not a male-dominated field, and I'm going to reiterate some of the statistics that we've heard tonight, if I can. According to an Arts Hub survey a couple of years ago, 51.5% of people working in the Australian screen industry are female. We make up more than half of the audience, as we've already heard. These days, we make up more than 50% of all film graduates, and that does 48% female over the history of AFTRS. We make up many, many more than 50% of screen administration. And what really annoys me is that we punch above our weight consistently. Films are creatively led by women, weigh heavily at the box office, ACTRA and AFI awards, historically speaking, more so than what our representation would indicate. Which then leads to the question, why aren't we in charge again? There are lots of reasons. And my job here, unfortunately, is not to rehash those reasons, although if you would like to read about those reasons, you can download my thesis from my website and have a good look at it. I'd recommend that you get a box of tissues and prepare yourself for a bit of a cry, but it's important for us to know about these things. So, here are my 10 tips for career success from a lifetime of personal experience, my academic work, and yes, a lifetime of failing, because I think failure is the best teacher. So my first tip, just make stuff. Just make stuff. I don't know about some of the other women in the room who are my age, but we are jealous of you. We are jealous of you because when we were you, we had to get one of those to make a film with, and they were really heavy and hard to get. Film was really expensive. We didn't have cameras in our phones. We didn't have editing studios in our bedrooms. It was really hard to just make stuff. I reckon I got my first few short films made just because I could draw a storyboard and act out the whole film, sometimes, if necessary, in interpretive dance. You have access to the gear. You have the means of production. Don't stop yourself from making stuff. Your vagina will not get in the way, I promise. Tell your stories. Don't be ashamed to tell your stories, and don't be ashamed to tell the stories of other women. We are all listening, I promise. My second tip is never stop learning. The day you know everything is the day that you should just stay in bed. There will always be something new to learn. There will always be someone new to talk to, some new movie to see, some new book to read, or some new idea to think about. Keep your mind and your options open. The other good news about that is it will also help you to stay young, I think anyway. Tip number 3, set some goals. I think you need to know where you're going even if nobody else does. Even if that goal changes, you are the one climbing this mountain. You are the one who is captaining this ship. Save yourself the hassle and get an idea of where you want to go and what you want to get out of this crazy and unbelievably difficult life. It might help you stay the course if you do run into sea monsters or misogynists, both equally bad. Step number 4, find some cheerleaders. Gather around you the people who support you, whoever they might be, personal support, professional support, creative support. Cheerleaders are your advocates. They're not just the ones upon whose shoulders you can cry. They are the people who will open doors for you, introduce you to people, and cheer you on when you have lost your way and you don't know how to steer the course anymore. And I chose this image for a reason. Don't just surround yourself with people who support you. Surround yourself with men who support you. Men are going to make the difference. Because this is not a women's problem. This is an everyone problem. And everybody needs to get on board. There are men who hate this as much as we do. Maybe it hasn't been their personal experience, and maybe they couldn't tell the stories that I told you earlier, but they hate it as much as we do, and we need to give them some agency to help us make it different, even if it's just one guy who helps you out every now and then. And remember, when it comes to your cheerleaders, when it comes to your advocates, more than what you know and more than who you know, the secret to this industry is who knows you. The more people who know you, the more doors will be opened for you. Tip number 5, find a mentor. And mentors have already been mentioned a few times tonight. Find someone who is more experienced than you. Find someone who is willing to talk to you and give you advice and help you to climb up the ladder. Do whatever you can to find that person and avail yourself of some of the resources and programs that have been mentioned tonight to help you get in touch with those mentors. But more importantly than finding a mentor, be a mentor. There is always someone lower on the ladder than you. Always. Reach out to someone and give them a hand up. If we each help each other up the ladder, we will all be better off. Women with mentors, as it says there, have, and this is demonstrated in my thesis, greater career success, make more money, feel more confident, navigate the unwritten rules, and ultimately help other people. It's been proven in every way. Tip number 6, lean in. Sheryl Sandberg's book has become a contentious topic for some people, and it distresses me when I get involved in arguments with other feminists about this book. But she pointed out the reality. Women in corporate life fall behind early and lose ground with every single step. And that is true of us as well. So make sure you pursue your ambition. If you are ambitious, be proud of yourself for it. Be willing to lead and don't hold yourself back. I love this quote. I have birthed to being a lady, but it doesn't last long. In deference to my grandmother who's watching us at the moment on the live stream, I won't actually say that word, but please stop worrying so much about being a lady. It's just holding you back. You don't need to be polite. You don't need to allow yourself to be interrupted when someone starts to talk over the top of you. You don't even need to get out of the way in the street when someone is walking straight towards you. I don't know how many of you have been indulging in this particularly painful experiment. I have been for some time, and I'm quite a sturdy woman. You'd be amazed at how many men just walk straight into you as if you weren't even there. I recommend that you all give it a go. Stop getting out of the way. Stop saying sorry all the time. Stop apologising for existing. Take up as much room as possible, particularly on public transport. Sit with your legs as wide apart as you need to. We need to have the same expectations of behaviour for both men and women. And if that means that we all have to stop being ladies, then so be it. By the age of 12, as I found in my thesis, and this quote upsets me every time I put it up. By the age of 12, it is clear that both girls and boys have learned to equate maleness with opportunity and femininity with constraint. By 12, we need to be better role models. All of us, men and women, need to be better role models for girls and boys. This is a cartoon that I have always liked. Apparently it's cheating to climb up on the affirmative action box. Tip number 8, practice affirmative action whenever you can. Whenever you can, in whatever situation you can, deliberately and mindfully hire a woman. You have to do it too. We can't all just sit around waiting for somebody else to do it. And what's really extraordinary is how much it challenges people. Having just finished a documentary which has an almost exclusively female crew, I was shocked to find how much this kind of subtle sexism that we've been talking about enters into it. When I was looking for an editor, I asked around, and every time somebody mentioned a man's name, I would always say, I'm only hiring a woman. The next response was always, oh, well, I know this fantastic woman, and actually, now that you mention it, she's probably better. Why didn't you say that in the first place? Women get further when they get a leg up. We've already proven that tonight. And the other thing we have to understand is that the meritocracy that we're always being told about is a complete myth. A merit-based system discriminates on the basis of how much merit a person has, assuming the precondition that everyone has the equal opportunity to acquire it and favours those who have more of it. In other words, every time you get told the meritocracy myth, that it is a level playing field, ask the question, who decides what constitutes merit? Because I would argue that in our industry, it's largely men who have been doing that. And from where I stand, men have been getting ahead in the screen industry because they're men for a really long time, but they don't seem to worry about it at all. They don't seem to stand around and think, gosh, did I get this job just because I'm a bloke? Oh no, maybe that means I'm not good enough. They don't seem to worry about the gender bias in their favour, and neither should we. Don't be so worried about it. It's a small step up. You got the job because you were great and because you're a woman. Number 9, take personal responsibility. This is a tough industry and it's even tougher for women. It's not fair. Toughen up. This is a game of musical chairs and there are more bums than chairs. You are responsible for what happens in your life. Make your mistakes, suck up your disappointments, celebrate your achievements, shout about your skills from the highest rooftops, and advocate for yourself and your own agency. Ginger Rogers has famously been attributed, although I'm sad to say falsely, by saying that she was just as good as Fred Astaire, except she had to dance backwards and in heels. Yeah, sure, we are dancing backwards and we are in heels, but at least we're dancing. And tip number 10, insist on better. This is Alice Lowe, the director of the British film Sightseers. And yes, she was pregnant at the time. I have been pregnant on film sets. I have had my babies on film sets. I've had a nanny on a film set. We need to insist on a redefinition of work. We do not need to ask permission to be here. We need to expect the screen industry in all of its forms to make it easier for us to go to work in whatever way, shape or form that looks like. Expect your industry to welcome you. Expect the nature of the nature of your work to accept you in whatever shape you are, wherever you go. Demand childcare. Demand a parent room for you to feed in. Demand whatever you need to make your working life more possible, given whatever demands you might have at home. And please remember, as I said before, this is not a woman's problem. Elizabeth Broderick said this: "It's time to stop asking what's wrong with women that they're not making it to the top, and start asking what's wrong with an industry that can't retain and promote women." And I'm thrilled that we've been asking that question now, and that question is being answered. Thank you.